Hey, the internet, y'all got us all the way up. We met that dude, Duke the Jeweler, the night before. We was down. The next day, dude followed us to the concert. When we left out the concert, we under the garage. Dude went to his car by himself and walked down to the parking lot. That's when somebody tried to kill him.
He's the one that's tied to the dude that makes the loaded dice. Right? Check the play out. All entertainers, when you go to Houston, stay away from J. Prince Jr. The whole play going on. Here go the play right here. The play is the loaded dice.
Is that a jeweler named Duke recently got killed, and the story's really messed up. So I want you to talk about what happened.
The dice at the table, clattering like bones on velvet. Smiles all around, but only one man was leaving with his life. Duke the jeweler didn't go out broke. He went out surrounded by sharks. And now, the stain is on Mob Tie's hands. The feds see it too. This wasn't some back alley stick-up. This was a straight-up execution. Duke left Boosie's dice game alive, dapped up by the same people who might have been signaling his downfall. And today, those same faces are the ones catching federal heat. 50 Cent caught wind early, reposting whispers, flashing receipts, and hinting that this setup was way bigger than anyone imagined. What makes this story straight out of a movie? Just 2 weeks before Takeoff was murdered under eerily similar dice game circumstances, Duke was the one shutting down J. Prince Jr.'s table. And in this world, when the wrong man starts winning, that's when everything spins out of control. Suddenly, the whole Mob Tie circle is under the microscope. Boosie, J. Prince Jr., Lil Cam, all names being whispered now as whispers turn into warrants. But to understand how we got here, you have to pull the camera back. What looked like a friendly dice game might have been a death trap from the jump. From the outside, Duke's story was nothing but wins. A Chicago kid who built an empire from scratch. He wasn't just pushing ice to up-and-coming rappers. He was creating custom heat for major players, building a brand that had weight in the industry. When he pulled up in Houston, it wasn't on vacation. He came for business. Boosie himself allegedly called him down to talk about a one-of-a-kind piece. Duke packed a Louis bag stuffed with $1 million lineup and showed up ready to wake. What he didn't know, that bag might have doubled as his casket. Now zoom in on that dice game. Leaked audio tied directly to WAC 100 paints it like this wasn't a casual roll of chance. It was an operation. Word is J. Prince Jr. runs a loaded dice setup. And it's always the same 3 names in rotation. Lil Cam, Big Capri, and Wolf. They handle the dice like a sacred ritual, keeping the table fixed. The house always wins, unless somebody breaks the cycle. And that's exactly what happened. According to WAC, Duke caught the wrong dice, the ones not meant for him, and they were rigged. Once he started rolling, it was like lightning, hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands stacking up fast. But in a crooked system, luck isn't just luck. It's a problem. And when someone breaks the rig, panic sets in. Simple math. Insiders say J. Prince Jr. skims 30% of every dice night. So when Duke started draining the stacks, he wasn't just lucky. He was cutting into the boss's pockets. Add to that, Duke's whole vibe that night was loud, flashy, and unapologetic. He was flexing heavy, dripping in diamonds, tossing stacks like party favors, and making sure Instagram caught every second. But here's where it starts to feel off. If you freeze frame the dice game footage, you'll notice Boosie giving a soft whistle. Not loud, not aggressive, but right after, his nephew snaps his head and locks eyes with Duke. Then, a man in a red hoodie lightly taps the nephew's arm, almost like a prearranged signal. And that's when the room shifts. Duke was laughing and tossing dice 1 second, and the next, the air felt like a silent countdown. Because this wasn't paranoia, it was body language. When a man walks into a room where the outcome is already decided, you can feel it before anything happens. And here's what doesn't add up. Why would Boosie invite a guest wearing over $1 million in jewelry to a dice game surrounded by people he didn't fully trust, without offering him a single layer of security? Why didn't Jay Prince Jr. set up protection for someone that valuable, especially a known out-of-towner walking around with more ice than most people's houses? That's not an oversight. That's a choice. Now rewind to the moment Duke left the game. No security, no driver, no team. Just him walking solo into a dark Houston lot after being around millions in cash and ice all night. If that sounds wrong to you, that's because it is. Minutes later, shots rang out. Duke was ambushed and fatally shot. And here's where it turned sinister. In a robbery, the first thing taken is jewelry or cash. But when Duke's body was found, every single piece was still on him. So tell me, what kind of robbery leave behind 7 figures in ice? The same $1 million jewelry Duke was proudly rocking at Boosie's own concert just hours before. And here's the real MIC drop. Duke's Louis Vuitton bag, the one holding his most prized unreleased jewelry designs, didn't just vanish into thin air. It turned up inside Boosie's house. Let that sink in. Houston PD confirmed it. Whether Duke handed it over for safekeeping during the dice game or Boosie got it another way, we don't know. What we do know is simple. The bag made it home. Duke didn't. And Boosie's reaction? A shaky Instagram live film from a plane. His voice trembling, claiming he barely knew Duke and that Duke just walked off. No real details, no accountability, just distance. But when a man leaves behind his chain, his cash, his bag, and his life all in the same night, something darker than bad luck went down. And no shaky livestream can hide that. Didn't you say Duke was going to make you a custom chain? You barely knew him, but you invited him to a private dice game and let him walk to his car alone after flashing $1 million in jewelry. Something ain't clicking. Then he continued.
He was walking to his car or something, some dude tried to rob him. Some dude tried to rob him. So some dudes had tried to rob me and walked off by himself. I had just met dude yesterday. Try to rob dude must ain't get up.
Folks with Flight Zach for number 2 for departure. Flight attendants, please clear the cabin.
Just met dude.
Trying to smooth it over like he had no clue what really went down. But the internet wasn't buying it. Comments flooded in calling his story shaky, his timeline off, and his body language screaming guilt. But let's be honest.
We was in a garage. He must have walked outside to the parking lot. We was in the garage. We heard this, but it like they was far away in the parking lot. He must have went to his car or something, bro. Dude was finna make a piece for him too.
He didn't look like some harmless bystander. He looked pale, nervous, and like he already knew what was coming. And if that seemed bad, the next part is worse. The feds, who were already circling Boosie for other legal issues, suddenly split Duke's case into its own federal investigation. No stacking charges. No delays. Just a straight-line mission to figure out who took Duke's life. And the first thing they did? Track the phone. Duke's last ping? Boosie's recording studio. So unless Duke's phone got legs and walked itself inside, someone in Boosie's circle carried it there. And the crazy part? They didn't even bother to destroy it. Didn't wipe it. Didn't toss it. The phone just went dead after that ping. Shut off manually. That's when the feds stopped playing nice. Then came the rental car search. Forensics lit up with prints from Boosie's own nephew and cousin. That was the nail. And right when people thought this couldn't get darker, a witness stepped up. Said they were outside smoking. Saw Duke walk into his car like nothing was wrong, until Boosie's nephew slid out the shadows. Duke felt it, swung first, tried to fight back, but he never stood a chance. One move, one shot, and it was over. And here's what makes it even colder. There was no fake robbery. No stage scene. They left Duke where he fell, but they kept the bag. That's not sloppiness. That's straight arrogance. And guess who caught wind of that? 50 Cent. You ever notice how every artist who comes to Houston gets the same warning? Check in or else. It's not on paper, but it's real. rappers, influencers, even ball players, they all hear it. But here's the dangerous part nobody says out loud. What happens when the people you're checking in with are the very ones lining you up? Let's not forget, Jay Prince Jr. hosted the very dice game Duke attended. The same Jay Prince Jr. who hosted the dice game where Takeoff lost his life. Two men walked in, and neither walked out alive. And suddenly, that whole check-in culture stopped looking like protection and started looking like a setup. Even WAC 100 couldn't stay quiet. WAC 100 didn't sugarcoat it.
Entertainer invites him in. Act like you cover for him, hanging out, everything is cool. Let's go here, let's go there, let's go here, let's go there. He introduces the dice game. He got three motherfuckers, right, who rotate the dice. Now these dice is loaded. Tell me it's a Wolf, Big Caprice, and watch this, and Little Cam are the loaded dice rotators, right? He said, what? There was a situation that occurred that a certain jeweler round and got past the dice on accident and was hitting all them for a couple hundred. They got irritated about that. I ain't gonna go too far into that story because, right, boom. The only way they could get their money back was however money back. He said, but Lil Cam, Wolf, and Big Caprice are the three designated to say I'm up, I got the next, and they pass the dice to each other, but they loaded, but they shooting.
He flat out called it a scam ring. According to him, Jay Prince Jr. has a whole playbook. Invite entertainers, make them feel like family, then walk them straight into a dice game where his crew has the table locked down. For Duke, that meant stepping into a circle with Lil Cam, Wolf, and Big Capri, the same trio who allegedly rotate loaded dice like it's ritual. Wax said Duke wasn't even supposed to get the dice, but once he did, he started winning, and the room turned ice cold. Think about it. How does a guest, brand new to the table, suddenly beat the house in a rigged system? He wasn't just winning money. He was exposing the hustle. And when you embarrass the wrong people in front of their own crew, you don't walk out untouched. That's why Wack called it a trap disguised as hospitality. And now, word on the street is that artists are waking up. Some are pulling shows, labels are backing out of Houston, and that whole check-in culture is looking radioactive. And 50 Cent? He's not letting this slide. He's been reposting clips, adding sly captions, and making it clear he sees straight through the act. Some people say he's poking a hornet's nest. Others argue he's the only one bold enough to say out loud what everybody else is whispering. Meanwhile, insiders claim Boosie is cracking. The feds have split Duke's motor into its own separate case, and now they are combing through Boosie's mansions, his bank accounts, even his son's digital trail. But the mess might be coming from inside his own house. Allegedly, Boosie's own girlfriend told someone she saw him run back inside that night, like he was hiding something. Yet on Instagram Live, Boosie played dumb, claiming Duke was just gambling, lost some money, and left on his own. But the problem is his story keeps shifting. 1 minute Duke barely knew him, the next they are talking custom pieces. That contradiction is exactly what the feds are tearing apart. And here's the bigger question. If Boosie falls, who's he taking down with him? Because he doesn't move solo. His nephew's name is in the mix. His cousin's prints are in the car. And then there's Jay Prince Jr., who's already under heat after Takeoff's death. These threads keep crossing, all leading back to one table, one circle, and one host who swore he ran the city. That illusion is starting to crack. Even Mob Ty's own allies are distancing themselves. Finesse 2 Tims, one's riding with him heavy, has started airing things out. At first it looked subtle. No more shows with Junior, no more backstage hangs. Then the whispers got louder. Some say it started with a woman, Finesse's own baby mama. She allegedly set him up, had him locked, and Jay Prince Sr. himself pulled strings to free him. But instead of listening, Finesse went right back to her. That's when Jay Prince Sr. warned him straight up, leave her alone or risk your life. But the streets are saying Junior didn't just ignore it. He crossed the line. Rumors claim Finesse's baby mama ended up pregnant, and people are pointing the finger at Junior. Nothing confirmed, but the fact Finesse hasn't denied it is telling. And now he barely says Junior's name. That's not drama. That's fracture. Step back and you'll see the pattern. Junior has heat with Takeoff's family. Booz's name is tangled in Duke's death. Finesse is spiraling away. Too many bridges are burning at once. And when your empire is built on silence, fear, and intimidation, it only takes one voice to flip the whole script. One artist, one friend, one witness, and the code of silence is done. So the million-dollar question, who breaks first? Will Boosie finally fold under federal pressure? Will Finesse out what really happened behind the scenes? Or will 50 Cent, obsessed with exposing mob ties, push J. Prince Jr. into a corner so tight he does the unthinkable? Talk to save himself? Either way, the collapse has started. The whispers are turning into knocks, and the feds aren't just investigating anymore. They're watching 24/7. And remember, this isn't just about one dice game. This is about power, control, and the fall of a dynasty. Because if that rumored video of Duke's final moments ever leaks, whether the TMZ or the feds, it's game over. No more whispers, no more speculation. Just hard evidence. And when that happens, the silence mob ties built its name on will be shattered forever. Charleston White never bites his tongue. And when it comes to J. Prince Jr. mob ties, he unloads with no filter, no mercy, and no fear. Let me tell you something, homie. He snapped in one interview. I didn't have no show. I was working with the same people that work against you. The FBI want Houston PD, and they want J. Prince, too. He didn't stop there. Charleston flat out accused J. Prince of being cozy with the cops. How you think he got his hands on an open murder investigation report? No redactions, no names blacked out. That ain't street power, that police power. That's Charleston's war cry. If J. Prince has police access, then Charleston claims he's got government backing. Run up on me, James Prince. I can go to war with the police for all the __ I got in here. Wrong with you. He waved it like a warning, ready for smoke, fire, and public humiliation. When he sat down with Say Cheese TV, things got even hotter. Charleston mocked the whole check-in culture. Make Taylor Swift check in. Make Post Malone check in. Why only us? I just went through Houston last week. I ain't checking with nobody. His message was clear. Mob ties only pulls that extortion play on rappers who let them. And he didn't dodge Takeoff's death either. He said Houston is a player city. You can party, wear your jewelry, and be fine unless you link up with mob ties. Then you're walking into a trap. They ain't no real mob. They ain't got judges or unions like New York. They just playing gangster. He even took aim at J. Prince Jr.'s character, clowning him with strip club rumors and saying he was embarrassing his father's legacy. Jr. is the one making Houston look bad, Charleston snapped, not the city itself. Then came the bombshell. Charleston claimed J. Prince Jr. walked right past Takeoff's body without even stopping to help. How you gonna act like you care when you didn't even blink? That accusation hit hard. Viewers ran back to the footage, watching Jr.'s every move, trying to decode if Charleston was right. For Charleston, this wasn't comedy, it was war. He called out mob ties as fake, street-level bullies pretending to be mafia. Where's mob ties when babies get killed? When women getting beat? You ain't doing nothing for the community. That ain't mob ties. That's fraud. The internet exploded. Some said Charleston was reaching for clout. Others said he was finally saying out loud what Houston insiders have whispered for years. Either way, the clip went viral, and one line stuck out in the comments. Duke wasn't just at a dice game. He was set up. He just flashed $1 million in jewelry, then walked to his car loan. Not long after, he was gone. The Fed split his case into its own investigation, tracking Duke's last phone ping. It led straight to Booz's studio. After that, the phone went dark, manually turned off. Forensics tied Booz's nephew and cousin to Duke's rental car. A witness said Duke sensed trouble, swung first, but Booz's nephew allegedly pulled the trigger. No robbery, just a hit. And instead of covering it up, they kept the bag. That wasn't sloppy. That was arrogance. Even 50 Cent noticed the pattern and called out the so-called check-in culture in Houston. Because let's be real, If Jay Prince Jr. ran the city like he claims, how did two men end up dead at his dice games? Even Whack 100 couldn't stay quiet about it.